Okay, guys, I just wanted to go through a few questions before the quiz to make sure that there's just not a few little kind of tricky things that are going to kind of fool you. So I want to make sure that you could do a question let's like this one first. This is actually one of the textbook questions that I said it'd be good to study for. I forget which number it was. But if you're looking at this one, let's just say, okay, we've got 135 and 21. So you can really think about that as just being a fraction, and it's going to just stay within the square root symbol at the end. So let's do that. Okay, so my new answer is going to start off with a 3 because there's nothing I can do with that 3. Um, my new fraction here, though, just put like a line maybe. It's going to be square root of something up top and something on the bottom. Okay, so 135 over 21. Well, you might be saying, okay, what goes into 135 and into 21? What I would do is look at the smaller number and say, okay, what things go into 21? Well, 7 and 3. So try to divide 135 by 7. Well, that doesn't work. So try 135 divided by 3. Yeah, that's 45. So I can reduce this fraction by dividing the top and the bottom by 3. So 135 divided by 3 is 45. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So we're able to reduce that part of the fraction. Now we've got m5 over m to the 3, and our answer is going to be under the square root symbol as well. Well, we didn't talk much about this before. Let's say that you just had m to the 5 over m to the 3, something like that, right? Remember that you subtract your exponents, so that would just be m to the 2, right? So you subtract your exponents. Really, what you'd be kind of thinking of, like the way I still think about it is m to the 5. That's just m times m times m times m times m over m to the 3 is m times m times m. You're going to cancel 3 of the top ones with 3 of the bottom ones, and you're going to end up with m times m, which is equal to m squared. So you can kind of, when you're thinking about dividing, you can either do the subtraction rule of exponents, or you can say, well, 3 of these m's need to cancel with 3 of the top ones, leaving you 2. So you can kind of do that canceling type of a method. Either way, we're only going to have um, m's in the top because m to the 2 meant m to the 2 over 1, really. So there's nothing in the bottom. So that's going to be your answer, just right there. Okay. Um, this one, we need to simplify. So to simplify, it doesn't say rationalize, just need to simplify apparently. So really, what needs to happen is in this term, and this term, it's something needs to be in common with all three of those. So looking at the numbers out front, the 9 and the 7 there, there's nothing really that goes into 9 and 7, so that's not going to change at all. Uh, but what will go in, like if I look at the 27 and 33, well, 3 goes into both of those. See if 3 goes into 432. Just go 432 divided by 3. And yeah, it does. It's 144. So we can start writing this out as, okay, I'm going to keep that as 9. Square root of, now 432 divided by 3 was 144. Um, Now, looking at our p's, well, just like we did before with like the canceling method, we've got p to the 4 in the bottom. 4 p's are going to cancel with 4 p's in the top on both of them. Like hopefully that made sense. Because, well, let's write this over here just to make sure. So let's say that we had p to the 5 minus p to the 5 over p to the 4. And we want to simplify that. Well, again, like I was saying, we've got, 4 p's in the bottom. They are going to cancel with 4 of those p's, leaving 1 p each in this. Right, so what we have left up top here, good. So that turned into 144, and I have a p, and then minus 7 And then we divided 27 by 3. 9. And then there was still a p there. And then all over 33 divided by p, square root 11. And that's as low as we can go. B here is going to be a little bit easier. Nothing we can do about the 6 out front because there's nothing in the bottom, right? So this is just going to turn into 6. We can divide the top and the bottom here by, well, only 2. So we can divide the top and bottom by 2. So we have the cube root. 4 divided by the 2, or by 2 was 2. That's going to be over 14 divided by 2 was 7. And now let's look at our v's. So we had 7 v's in the top, 1 in the bottom. One of those v's in the bottom is going to cancel with one of them on top. And we're going to be left with just v to the 6 up top. Or you could think about having that 7 up there and subtracting the 1 down there, which would still give you v to the 6 up top. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. Now, the other thing that I don't want to get you on the quiz is, let's say we had something like, I don't know, 2 square root of 5 minus 4 square root of 2. And it was written like this and it was squared. And let's say I even like made this a little bit tougher. Let's say I put like a 4 out front of it. There's a question kind of like this on your test. And I'll even put like an X or something there, like a letter in there too, to kind of just make sure that we got all our bases covered. So something like this. Okay, first off, what a lot of people are going to do is going to be like, well, I'm just going to square this part, I'm going to square this part, and I'm done. That's not really the case here. What we've really got, the first thing you got to do is expand this. That's one of the most common mistakes in math. What we've really got here is 4 times 2 root 5 minus 4 the root of 2x, and then multiplied by the exact same thing. That's what it meant to square it, was to like multiply it by itself again. And you can remember now that we have to FOIL this. We have to go that one times that one, that times that, that times that, and that times that. Okay, but you might be asking, okay, what about that pesky 4 out front? Well, it doesn't really matter what order you do this. You could do two things. You could have this 4 and multiply it by both of those things. Or you could wait till the end and then multiply the 4 through. So I'm gonna multiply it through now. So what I'm gonna do is go 4 times. Actually, you know what? I'm not gonna go through now. I'm gonna do it after. So what I'm going to do is just expand. I'm going to expand the rest of it. I'm going to just ignore the 4 for a minute. Just keep it like sitting there. And I'm going to go this one times this one first. So let's go, that's going to be 4 times 5. That's the first one. And then this one times this one. That's going to be minus 8 square root 10x. Okay, now this one and this one. So that's going to be negative 8 square root 10x. Okay, and then last one's going to be that and that. So that's going to be plus, because we got a negative and a negative. So plus 16 times 2x. And I've got one more bracket to put there. Okay, now let's just kind of clean this up a bit. So that 4 is still just kind of hanging out front. And 4 times 5, that's 20. So we've got 20. And now I'm going to combine these right now. Okay, so yeah, these are like terms. So negative 8 minus 8, that ends up being minus 16 root 10x. And then the last part, 16 times 2, so it's going to be plus 32x. I can't tell if I was just I think I had it paused. So if you didn't get what I did there, I collected these two terms, this one and this one, to get negative 16 root 10x, and then just multiplied those together to get 32x. Okay, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Okay, now we're at this point. Now that pesky 4 out front, we just need to distribute it into everything else. So it's going to be 4 times 20, 4 times negative 16, 4 times 32x. So this is going to be, so 4 times 20, that's 80. 4 times negative 16, negative 64 times that, plus 4 times 32, 128x. And that's it. That would be your answer there. Okay, so let's do one more. So things to remember though, don't forget about that squared thing. That's by far a really common thing for students to make a mistake on. Okay, but let's do another one. Let's do I don't know. I'm just gonna like make up some numbers here. We had 4x squared times square root of 3x to the 3, and this is all gonna be over 2. Let's make it 8. X to the 3, and then all over square root 9. Oh, actually I better leave something up there. Here, I'm going to change this to a 9 and that to a 3. Okay, and then this will be x to the 5, something like that. Okay, so what we're going to do as we go through this, we've got, well, these numbers are going to simplify first. So this is all going to be equal to 4 over 8 simplifies to 1 over 2. You might want to just make one long line here. So 1 over 2. The x's up top, I've got like 2 x's up top, 3 on the bottom. You can think about like 2 of these x's are canceling with 2 of the ones on the bottom, leaving just a single x down there. Or you could go 2 minus 3 for my exponents. And remember that x to the negative 1, which would, 2 minus 3, that's what that would be. That's just equal to 1 over x. That's the same as what we have right here, right? Okay, either way, however you want to think about it though. Okay, and now we've got a 9 up top in the square root and a 3 in the bottom, so we're still going to have square root of 3 right there. Nothing in the bottom because, well, you could say we have square root of 1, but that's just 1, so it's kind of just not even there anymore. And then you can think about, we got like 3 x's up top, 5 in the bottom. 3 of those are going to cancel with 3 of those, leaving just a squared. So we end up with square root of x squared in the bottom. If we kind of clean up what we have here, we've got the square root of 3 all over 2 times, well, this here, that's just x, right? The square root of x squared, that's just x. So x times the x that's already sitting there, we have x squared on the bottom. Okay, so now let's do another one, and let's say you have to rationalize the denominator on this one too. So we had 4x squared y times square root of 8x squared y. Okay, and that's all over 2x cubed, and that's it. So something like that. Actually, no, and then we'll do square root of 5 x cubed. Okay, something like that. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to simplify the top again. 4 and 2, that's going to simplify to just 2 up top. That x squared next to the 3 in the bottom, 2 of the x's up top are going to cancel with 2 of the x's in the bottom, leaving just x on the bottom. You can kind of like leave that down there if you want like that. Y is just still up there on its own. And now this part here, 8 and 5 doesn't really simplify anymore. So I've still got a square root. I've still got 8 up top. The x's, though, I'm going to have, well, 2 of the x's up here are going to cancel with 2 of them up here, leaving just an x in the bottom. So we're still going to have that 5 and an x, and then a y is up top. Okay, so that's pretty much simplified. We got that pretty much good to go. Now we just need to rationalize the denominator. So the way we rationalize the denominator is by multiplying the top and bottom by, well, what might happen is that people think, well, I'm going to multiply it by everything on the bottom. I've seen that quite a bit. 5x, so like that, right? You don't need to multiply by that x2. We just need to multiply by what's in the brackets, or what's underneath the square root there. So we're going to multiply the top and the bottom by just the square root of 5x. So square root of 5x. So like that. So now if we do that, we are left with, on the top, we've got 2y, and now multiplying 8 and 5. Got square root of 40 xy over, now this is just x, and then this part times that, we multiply by the same thing there, that just becomes 5x. And then, so you've got an x there and an x there, multiply those together, we could just rewrite this as 5x squared. Okay, so there'll only be one question that's, this kind of difficulty, like the last two questions that we did on the test, or this style of question, I guess. So if you're having a hard time with that, just keep practicing. Make up your own questions too, really. Like, I just made these up on the spot. You can do the same, right? Just kind of play around with it. So other than that, go back and look at your guys' notes, and you do those practice questions that. So yeah, the practice questions here that are on the workspace, and don't forget to look at the breakdown here. So this is gonna be how you're gonna be marked, right? So practice up, and I know you'll do great.